Welcome back to the Truth Fairy 2, and today we're doing another reaction. Simulation theory. Have you ever wondered, are you living in a simulation? The Mandela effect, all those kinds of things? Well, we're going to find out from the smartest guy on YouTube that I know, and that is AJ and his sidekick Hecklefish and the Y-Files. So, let's find out. Do we live in a simulation? So let AJ tell us why we could. Let's do this.
Is this reality? Well, we're experiencing something right now, so maybe the better question is, what is reality? Could everything we see, everything we experience, everything that exists in our entire universe be
subscribe, like and subscribe.
Supporters of simulation theory believe that not only is it possible that we're living in a simulation, it's likely. And the more we look for evidence, the more we find. Let's find out why.
The more we find? Oh, what are we gonna find? Let's find out. Good channel, guys. Great channel.
The idea of the universe in a simulation is not a new one.
Get over there and do it.
Exist in ancient cultures around the world. Modern simulation theory comes from Nick Bostrom, a philosopher at Oxford who wrote an influential paper on the subject in 2003. Assuming that living in a simulation is possible, Bostrom presents the simulation trilemma, which says one of the following must be true. 1, we destroy ourselves before we're able to create a simulation. 2, we're able to create a simulation but choose not to. Or 3, we are definitely in a simulation.
We're already in a simulation.
Is equally likely to be true. Now, I don't think that's controversial. We use computer models to study the human population, predict the weather, for entertainment. We simulate everything. And when a civilization can create a realistic simulation, the most obvious one to create is that of its own early existence. Bostrom calls this an ancestral simulation. And a civilization that can do this wouldn't just create one simulation, it would create many. And those simulated civilizations might create their own simulations of the universe, and on like Russian nesting dolls of reality.
Now you're a character in that world and you think you have free will and you say, I want to invent a computer, so you do. Hey,
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
And then that
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Then you have simulations all the way down.
Neil deGrasse Tyson. There's no way that he believes in simulation theory. No way.
What he thought the chances were that our reality is the original base reality.
The odds that we're in base reality is 1 in billions.
1 in billions. Excuse me? 1 in billions.
Neil deGrasse Tyson is a little more conservative.
Alright.
The odds that we are in base reality versus a simulated reality is 50-50. A 50-50 chance that everything we experience is artificial, that's still pretty high. 50. And even though we mostly hear what scientists think about this, it's not scientific theory. Simulation theory isn't math, it's philosophy. It isn't physics, it's metaphysics. So what we need is hard evidence that we live in a simulation. And to find proof, all you have to do is look.
Wow. This is gonna get good, y'all. This is gonna get good. I'm excited about this.
Let's start at the beginning. There was no space or time. The contents of the entire universe were concentrated to the size of a tennis ball.
See, and that's why I think, this is my personal opinion, I think we live inside of a black hole. Because you can't get something from nothing. If you have the Big Bang Theory, and you have this, like, infinite, that's infinite time and space, you have this tiny singularity that turns into what is our universe, we have to live inside a black hole. All the stuff that's in our universe is what the black hole is eating. Just that's what makes sense to me.
Temperature of a quadrillion degrees. Then suddenly, the Big Bang. Everything explodes outward faster than the speed of light.
That's a black hole being born.
Later, we've got galaxies and planets and
I'm not a scientist.
K-pop.
Yeah, I could do without the K-pop.
Me too. Okay, if before the Big Bang there was no space.
Hecklefish Moriarty. He is honestly my spirit animal. Go over to their merch shop too. There's a t-shirt that says that Hecklefish is my spirit animal. He's amazing. If you have not subscribed to this channel, go now, right now, and do it. Do it now.
Space and no time. What was there? What about the beginning of the universe from the religious point of view? God created everything. Fine. Where was he before? What caused the Big Bang to happen in the first place? Or what made God decide to snap his fingers or wiggle his nose or whatever he did to make everything happen? If you ask a physicist to explain what existed before the universe, they'll give you an answer about quantum foam, dark energy, or something just as bonkers as the Big Bang. Ask a theologian what existed before God created the universe.
What the hell is quantum foam? Has anybody heard of quantum foam? If you have, leave in the comments.
And you'll get an answer equally as confusing. But what does make sense is that the universe was just sitting there dormant. Then someone somewhere decided to boot up a program. And in that program, our program, are all the laws of the universe. Electromagnetism and gravity.
Yeah, because there are laws. We have laws. The laws of how fast light can go, the speed of light. The laws of gravity, the laws of all kinds of things. It seems like a computer program. It does.
The speed of light gets a value. There's code for Planck's constants of mass, speed, and time. Avogadro's number is in there, along with a bunch of other rules that govern the behavior of everything that exists. All part of our program. Even consciousness itself is part of our simulation. If you've never heard of simulation theory, then this might sound far-fetched. But some of the world's most respected scientists, technologists, and philosophers believe
maybe to you guys. Does it sound far-fetched to you guys? Tell me what you think. Do you think we live in a simulation? Does it seem far-fetched to you? It doesn't to me. What seems far-fetched to me is all the things that are supposed to be real. That we live in this huge, like almost infinite universe where there's so much space in between things that you can't get anywhere. That seems crazier to me than this.
It is more likely than not that we are living in an artificial reality. So, how do we prove it?
It's true. Oh, here we go. I'm excited. I'm going to prove it.
If we live in an artificial reality, it would make sense for there to be occasional glitches. Philip K. Dick is one of the most influential science fiction writers
Phil Dick.
of all time. Movies based on his books include Blade Runner, Total Recall, Minority Report, The Adjustment Bureau, and plenty of others. He believed there are many universes, and sometimes those other realities bleed into ours. He claimed to have visions of this, and even wrote stories like The Man in the High Castle based on these visions.
Oh my God, that's such a great book. If you have never read The Man in the High Castle, you should do that too. That is such a great, great book. You should read it. Absolutely.
That in fact, plural realities did exist, superimposed onto one another like so many film transparencies.
One way other realities blend into ours could be the Mandela effect. The Mandela effect is when...
Okay, love this. We'll eventually do a reaction to All Time... I think it's All Time Scary. I'm not sure what the channel is. I'll find out. For the Mandela effect. Some of these, I think, are just... people are just getting it wrong. Some of these blow my mind.
When a large
find out what he's going to talk about.
Of events that don't match reality. This is called the Mandela effect because millions of people specifically remember Nelson Mandela died in prison.
Let me tell you something. I remember Nelson Mandela's funeral. Now, I don't know if this is a false memory or what it is, but he did not die in prison. He got out of prison and became the president of that country. So, the Mandela effect is named after him, but tens of thousands, if not tens of millions of people remember Nelson Mandela's funeral and his wife walking next to his coffin. Go figure. Don't know.
Remember his wife walking beside his casket in a funeral procession that was on television for 2 hours that day. This never happened.
I remember that.
Or the Berenstain
Never
Bears,
happened.
which people insist were always called the Berenstein Bears. People remember the tycoon from Monopoly having a monocle that he never had.
That's a false memory right there, and I've got that one figured out. Me and my husband have talked about this one. The monocle that you're thinking about is the Peanut, Mr. Peanut. He has a monocle. The Monopoly guy does not have a monocle.
What was Darth Vader famous for saying?
Luke, I am your father.
Nope, he never said that.
What?
What about Stouffer's stovetop stuffing?
Best part of Thanksgiving.
No, it isn't. because there's no such product. Stovetop is made by Kraft.
Excuse me? It's made by Kraft? What? Okay, see, there's that one. I've never heard that one before, but that one right there blows my mind. I'm like Hecklefish. I remember stovetop stuffing, the best part of Thanksgiving.
No.
The evil queen from Snow White who looked into her mirror and said,
Mirror, mirror on the wall.
Mirror, mirror on the wall.
Magic mirror on the wall.
What? They changed this shit. Come on. Or it's a glitch in the Matrix. Or they changed it just to fuck with us.
My reality is shattered.
People remember Febreze being spelled with
I
two
feel you.
E's.
I feel you,
People
sir.
remember Jiffy peanut butter, but there's no such thing. And there are a lot.
This one is, people are just, it's always been Jif. Like, I've known my whole, it's Jif. It's never been Jiffy.
Personally, I don't
this
have
one I
most
don't
of
get.
these false memories, but there are a few that get me.
I don't
the
either.
Flintstones. There are 2 T's in the Flintstones.
This one
I
gets
remember
me
just
too.
One. And what about the Fruit of the Loom logo?
Yeah.
I could swear it looks like this, but it doesn't. This is
It
the
had a
actual
cornucopia.
logo. No cornucopia.
No cornucopia.
Basket.
Then just say basket for crying out loud.
And at the end of Moonraker, a terrible but excellent James Bond movie, I remember Jaws' girlfriend as having
Never seen
braces. I specifically remember it. She didn't have braces.
Well, it looks like he did, though. So there's where that false memory comes in.
I just
I'm
can't get
thinking
my
maybe.
brain to accept it. That's the Mandela effect.
Right.
So why do millions of people distinctly remember different things?
Glitch in a simulation.
Yep. Philip.
Yep. I'll say this. I have one Mandela effect, and I would like for you guys to leave in the comments if you know what I'm talking about. I am almost 50 years old, and for the most part of my life, when it's my birthday, I get an ice cream cake from Dairy Queen. It's always chocolate cake and mint chocolate chip ice cream. That might gross a lot of y'all out. A lot of people don't like mint in their ice cream. I love it. I've always gotten it. So, 2 years ago, I ordered, they didn't have mint chocolate chip, so I ordered strawberry. And I just assumed that they would put white cake in it. I picked it up, and it was a cake. It was ice cream. It was ice cream, all ice cream, in the shape of a cake. And when I said, there's no cake in this, the lady at the window when I picked it up said, there's never been cake in our ice cream cakes. What? If any of y'all have had an ice cream cake from Dairy Queen with cake in it, leave in the comments. I know that I am not tripping on that one.
K. Dick also felt when we experienced deja vu is because something in our simulated universe changed and a new timeline branched off of the current one.
Yeah.
A computer programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed.
Ever feel like you've lived a moment before? That's because, according to Philip K. Dick and others, you have. Deja vu is the simulation correcting itself with new information. But skeptics can easily dismiss these theories. The human mind is terribly unreliable. They don't accept this as evidence.
It is.
We're not done yet.
No, we're not done yet.
We live in a huge universe, 200 billion trillion stars. And even if life is rare, you'd think there'd be some evidence of it somewhere. This is Fermi's paradox. But according to the Drake equation, there should be over a million technologically advanced civilizations just in our...
My main name is Drake, so I love the Drake equation. I've really looked into the Drake equation and the Fermi paradox. There should be so many civilizations, and I think there is. I think we're just too far away from them to know.
Galaxy, and on average, the nearest one should be just a few hundred light years away. But there's nothing, at least not that we can see. So,
Proxima Centauri.
Are we really alone in the universe, or does our program only focus on us? And what about the physical rules that are in place?
Very well could.
Max Tegmark, a cosmologist at MIT, said, the strict laws of physics point to the possibility of a simulation. Putting a cap on the speed of light sure is a good way to keep your Sims from venturing out too far from home. Theoretical physicist James Gates thought simulation theory was crazy. Then he started studying quarks and electrons. He found error-correcting code buried deep inside the equations used to describe string theory.
So you're saying as you dig deeper, you find computer code written in the fabric of the cosmos into the equations.
Excuse me? Did he just say that there's computer code written into our DNA? Are you kidding me?
Used to describe the cosmos.
What?
Computer code. Computer code. Strings of letters of ones and zeros.
Dr. Gates has changed his mind about simulation theory. In 2017, a group of scientists at the University of Washington proved they can embed computer code into strands of DNA. Everything in nature is math.
Oh my God. That alone. Okay, he said 3 or 4 things that you could use to stand alone, that would stand alone to almost prove simulation theory. That one right there is a standalone one. There is ones and zeros computer code written in our DNA.
Look at the Fibonacci sequence. You get the Fibonacci sequence by adding 2 previous numbers in the sequence together. So 1 plus 1 equals 2, 2 plus 1 equals 3, 3 plus 2 equals 5, 5 plus 3 equals 8, and so on forever. You get the golden ratio, also called phi, by dividing 2 consecutive Fibonacci numbers. So the number 89 is a Fibonacci number. The next number in the sequence after 89 is 144. 144 divided by 89 is the golden ratio. It's about 1.618. We see Fibonacci numbers.
I'm not a math whiz, but what? This is crazy. This whole thing is crazy talk. AJ,
and the golden ratio.
Good job so far. It's amazing.
The petals on a flower is usually a Fibonacci number. Lilies have 3 petals. Buttercups have 5. Chicory has 21. And the daisy has 34. And the spacing of each petal is arranged in a circle according to the golden ratio. As trees grow, the number of branches they form is a Fibonacci number. And not just plants. Animals too. The ratio of female to male honeybees in a colony is the golden ratio, 1.618. The human body conforms to the golden ratio too. Most of the body follows the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 5.
Are you kidding? Are you kidding me? Seriously? This is blowing my mind.
5 fingers, 5 toes. The proportions of the body, like the length of your shoulder to your elbow, and from your elbow to your fingertips, that's the golden ratio.
Even the
DNA molecule measures 34 angstroms long by 21 angstroms wide. Fibonacci numbers and the golden ratio. From the spiral of seashells to the spiral of a galaxy and everything in between, Fibonacci numbers are everywhere. Now, some claim this is a coincidence.
Everywhere.
That humans.
That is not a coincidence, my friends. That is not a coincidence. And, oh my God, AJ, this is so good. And a lot of times, though, if you watch this channel, he'll say stuff and then he'll kind of debunk at the end.
Look for
so let's see if he does
that. Because that's what we're programmed to do.
What we're programmed to do.
And isn't that interesting? By trying to debunk simulation theory, they actually end up proving it. No matter what we study, whether it's something the size of a galaxy or as small as an electron, everything in the universe seems to follow patterns and rules. In other words, a program.
What? This is blowing my mind. This is blowing my mind.
To simulate an entire universe,
you
obviously need more advanced technology than we have. But that doesn't mean we won't get there. Moore's law says that computing power doubles every 18 months. And this has held true for about 50 years. Now that is slowing down a little bit, but only because of physical limitations. Assuming we can learn to make microchips smaller, and there's no doubt that we will, it's predicted that artificial intelligence could surpass human intelligence within the next 100 years. As Elon Musk points out, when he was a kid, the world's most advanced video game was Pong. 2 rectangles on a screen.
Yeah.
40 years
I remember Pong. I'm almost 50. My very first gaming system was an Atari. Like Frogger and Qbert. And I remember Pong. I remember before there were computers and before there were all this stuff, all these things.
Is barely distinguishable from reality. He said that 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And even in that short time, video game engines have become even more realistic. Look at this footage from Unreal
Engine 5.
When a world we can build feels as real as our own.
Okay, I can't stand this movie. I can't. I cannot. Bobby, my husband keeps saying, we need to go back and rewatch this movie. You really need to go back and rewatch this movie, because I feel like now that you're really into the sciences, what we call it woke, that I would like it better. I don't think so. I don't like this movie. But so realistic. I'm sure that that's exactly what's going on here.
6 years, or the next 60, or the next 6,000. But simulating an entire universe, how big of a computer would we need? Well, it's estimated that there are 10 to the power of 80 atoms in the universe. Let me put that on the screen just for fun. Okay, that's a lot. If each particle needs 120 bits to calculate its position and momentum, you're at 10 to the power of 83 bits. And that's just for data storage. We also need computing power to track what each of those particles is doing. If we say 2 floating point operations per second, or 2 flops per particle, we're at 2 times 10 to the 80th power flops. There aren't even words for these numbers. And this is the computing power for just the stuff in the universe. What about human intelligence? The human brain can perform 100 trillion calculations per second, or 100 teraflops. Multiplied by billions of people, the numbers are ridiculous. To power all of this,
you would need a computer that was as big as the
simulation would need
universe.
access to multiple Dyson spheres, the megastructures that capture 100% of the energy of a star. Or the simulation would have to harness the energy from black holes. This is why famous physicists...
Wrap your brain around that for a second. Just wrap your brain around that for a second. The power from a black hole.
Like Dr. Michio Kaku are not on board with simulation theory. He claims that simulating a universe is not scientifically possible.
Oh, Dr. Michio Kaku believes highly in string theory, which, if you don't know what string theory is, look it up. I might do a reaction video or an actual video on string theory. I don't believe in string theory. I think it's silly, but that's why he doesn't believe in simulation theory.
The only computer capable of simulating a universe is the universe itself. Now, at first glance, this makes sense, but with all due respect to Dr. Kaku, that's not how simulations work. When you're playing a 3D video game, the entire game world isn't rendered. Instead, the game engine only calculates what the player can see and interact with at that specific moment. If we are living in a simulation, then it would make sense that if
we're living in a simulation, then everything around us that's rendered around us is rendered for us. Once we walk into, like, there's my bathroom. I can see it, but until I walk into it, that's not rendered as part of my world yet.
The creators of the simulation use a similar technique.
He's crazy.
Wouldn't it be interesting if
and
there was evidence
so
that this is exactly what happens?
So true.
Oh, wait a minute. Do we have proof? Sweet fancy Moses!
Love him.
Supporters of simulation theory often point to video games as a way to explain, if not prove, that our reality is artificial. In a video game, the only data that is rendered is what the player sees or interacts with. If you're playing a video game and there's a car or building a mile away, that entire object isn't rendered. The game engine only renders the bare minimum of information to make the object look real. A distant building is rendered as just a few pixels, not that complicated. As you get closer, the engine renders more details, but still, it's just a facade. The engine doesn't bother calculating what's inside the building until you actually go in. The game engine always knows how much data to send you and doesn't bother with anything else. If we live in a simulation, it would make sense that our reality is rendered the same way. And we could test this.
Wait, what do you mean we can test this?
What?
Specifically, we can use the double slit experiment. Here's how it goes. If we fire particles in a straight line at a screen, after passing through a single slit, we would expect to see...
Okay, pay close attention to this. I'm not even going to talk through this until the end. This is the most amazing thing. I've seen this double slit experiment several times, and I know AJ is going to explain it so well because he does so good. This right here has, to me, always proved that we live in some sort of computer simulation.
See this clumping pattern on the screen. If we try this with a wave, we expect to see a pattern like this, where particles are most dense in the middle of the screen but radiate outward, similar to the clumping pattern. When we add a second slit, it starts to get fun. When the waves pass through the double slit, each slit creates its own wave. When those waves intersect, they cancel each other out. That creates a pattern like this. It's called an interference pattern.
Right.
So particles passing through two slits create clumping patterns. Waves through two slits creates an interference pattern. Make sense?
I'm with you.
Good. If we fire electrons through the slit, we see the clumping pattern as expected. An electron has mass, so it's a tiny bit of matter. So if we fire electrons through two slits, we should see two clumps. But we don't. We see the wave interference pattern. This shouldn't be happening. What's going on here? For years, scientists assumed that the electrons were colliding with each other, causing the wave pattern. But in the 60s, the experiment was modified so that only one electron at a time was fired through the slits. There was no way the electrons could interact with each other, yet we still see an interference pattern. Scientists wanted to see what was causing this, so they added a detector to observe electrons as they pass through the slits. That's when things go from weird to paranormal. As soon as the detectors were installed, the interference pattern went away and the clumping pattern returned. Take the detectors away and the wave interference pattern is back.
But that's a different result.
It knows.
So here's the last bit of sneakiness that we can play with atoms. Surely now, we're going to get to grips with it. Leave the detector there, but just very quietly go and unplug it. Don't let the atoms know that you're not spying on them.
It still knows.
Run the experiment again. Now, if you can explain this using common sense and logic, do let me know, because there's a Nobel Prize for you.
It's as if the particles are aware they're being observed. Then physicist John Wheeler had an idea. He called it the delayed choice experiment. How it works is, photons are projected through the double slit, but the detector is not activated until after they pass through the slit, but before they impact the screen. Photons were emitted as waves, passed through the slits as waves, but when the waves were observed before hitting the screen, they suddenly behaved like particles again. Still don't think there's an intelligence at work? Well, what Wheeler's experiment showed is that even though the electrons started as waves but behaved like particles after being observed, at the moment the decision to observe them was made, the electrons recorded themselves as having passed through the slits as particles.
They went back in time and changed themselves. Excuse me,
electrons change their state by going back in time.
Back in time.
I personally find that I gravitate more towards the information theoretic.
Wrap your brain around that, guys. Wrap your brain around it just for a second. They went back in time and changed themselves. That blows my mind at a level I don't even know where to start. Leave some comments about that. I want to know what y'all think about that.
Point of view and believing that
change themselves.
That the universe that I exist in is a very good, high quality simulation.
Now, this experiment is happening on a table in a lab, a very short distance. So what happens when we observe light coming from vast distances? Like, say, a galaxy 100 million light years away. If light from a distant galaxy is projected through the double slit, it creates the wave interference pattern. But if we push those photons through a measuring apparatus to observe them, the wave again collapses all the way back to its source. This is called retrocausality. Simply by choosing to observe the photons this way, they reach back through time 100 million years and alter their state on the other side of the galaxy.
On the other side of the galaxy. There's only one way that can happen, guys. That's it. Like, I'm pretty convinced.
Like a video game engine, it only does this if we're looking. Even though our universe is full of galaxies, those galaxies may not actually be there. If we're living in a simulation, then stars and galaxies could simply be projections, and only when we get up close would those projections become more detailed. This is an excellent way to save computational resources. And because we're stuck with the hard limit of the speed of light, getting to far-off places is really difficult. Limiting the speed of light is a useful rule to have in place. Quantum mechanics like the double slit experiment and quantum entanglement only make sense if there's a program at work, because only the program can ignore the laws of physics and ignore the concept of time itself.
Wow.
A convenient case for simulation theory is you can't disprove it. The Big Bang, that was the simulation booting up. We haven't found aliens? They're not in the simulation. How come UFOs seem to violate the laws of physics? Well, because they're programs operated by the simulation creators. They don't have to follow the laws of physics.
Yeah, but who created the simulation?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? When you think of the simulation creator as an omniscient intelligence who exists outside our understanding of space and time, it sounds an awful lot like you're describing God. And just like you can't prove we're not in a simulation, you can't prove there is no God. If something miraculous happens or something horrible happens, you can say it's part of the simulation just as easily as you can say it's part of God's plan. Something I find very interesting is that many believers of simulation theory are fierce atheists. They dismiss the idea of God as corny superstition. And there are plenty of devoutly religious people.
I'm a Christian, and I have believed in simulation theory for a cool minute. I mean, God is everything. He could do this. This could be a simulation. That doesn't mean that God is not real.
People who dismiss provable science like evolution and the age of the earth. People on the religious side say that if there is no God and life is just a simulation, then nothing matters. Without God to guide us and sometimes punish us, depending on what you believe, our actions don't have consequences. I disagree.
He made the simulation.
Even if we don't live in base reality, we still live in our reality, and our actions here do have consequences. As for what happens after we die, simulation or not, nobody really knows.
We don't know. But we're going to be watching some paranormal and reacting to some paranormal videos, and there's life after death, my friends.
Both sides argue that faith and science are not compatible. Isn't this hypocritical?
Oh, they are.
Believe in God.
They are, though. There's so much of the Bible and so much of science that proves the Bible, and the Bible that proves it. They go hand in hand. I don't care whether you're a Christian, a Catholic, a Methodist, Pentecostal, atheist, Satanist, it doesn't matter. Science and religion go hand in hand. And if you believe in God and you believe in the good, you have to believe in the bad. If there's a God, there's a Satan. If there's good, there's bad. You can't have just one.
You believe in simulation theory. The real question is, what's the difference?
I bet he's going to tell us.
Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. My name is AJ, that's Cyclefish. This has been the Y-Files. If you had fun or learned anything, do me a favor and like, subscribe, comment, share. All that stuff.
Go over,
really
like, subscribe.
Trying to solve the YouTube algorithm is like trying to find proof we're in a simulation, but with your help, we'll get to the truth. Until next time,
that's right.
Be kind.
The YouTube algorithm
are appreciated.
Thanks, AJ. That was amazing. Amazing, you guys. Oh my God. So was your mind blown? Because mine was. Leave some comments down there. I mean, let's get the commenting. People, I don't have very many comments. Let's get some discussion going. What do you think? What do you think about this simulation theory? And AJ did a great job. And by the way, I mean, come on. Get over there and subscribe to that channel if you haven't yet. Because every single one of his videos are like that. And we'll be reacting to a few more, but I've watched most of them. So, I have to react to the ones I haven't seen. And that's very few and far between. So, next, though, tomorrow will be Twin Paranormal. We're going to get into some of the paranormal things. Because I told you, I think that my house is haunted. Bobby has been doing a ton of basically ghost hunting, investigating in this house, and has gotten some stuff, y'all. So, we're putting together a video on that, and we'll be uploading that here in a couple of days. And so Bobby's going to get in on the action because he is going to do a paranormal video about this house. I think there might be ghosts. I don't think that they're malevolent in any way. I think the family or they're good spirits. Spirit Talker keeps saying that they're here to protect us, watch over us. It's not malevolent. There's no demons here. So it's not going to get scary like that. But there's definitely spirits in this house. For sure. For sure, for sure. So stay tuned for that. I loved this. Go over, like, subscribe to the Y-Files, AJ Hecklefish. If you like this reaction, subscribe to this channel and like it up and hit the notification bell. That way you know when I upload a video. And I will see you guys tomorrow, soon, sometime. I'll see you soon. Peace. Love you guys. Bye.